I'm shocked to say it, that may be the best episode of Star Wars TV we've ever gotten. Just absolutely spectacular. And I'm not talking from a lore standpoint or even a story standpoint, just the way everything came together. It was the closest Star Wars on TV has really felt like the true version of Star Wars that we all love. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I love The Mandalorian. The Mando Season 2 opening and finale, probably more memorable than this, but man, this episode of Ahsoka just nailed the pacing, the combat, the visual effects. Everything was a step up from where it's been throughout this entire series, and they picked an amazing time to do it. This show has gone in such an interesting direction. I mean, let's talk about the big thing, the ending. Ahsoka travels to the world between worlds and meets a de-aged Anakin Skywalker. I will say, I wish they just went with Hayden as he normally appears, but even that, not everything is as it appears, because the Darth Vader theme plays, and look on his waist. He doesn't have Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, he has Vader's. I'm really interested to see how this goes, what sort of manifestation Anakin is, or whether this is the real sort of ghost of Anakin, and the lightsaber reflects the fact that, hey, he's not quite fixed after everything he did. But yeah, generally I want to go through this episode chronologically and give my thoughts. I already mentioned that I thought just the quality of the shots, the filming, the lighting, everything was great. They released a clip on Twitter. I thought the episode would be really dark and I was a bit worried, but it turned out great. I also thought there was a pretty major improvement to the dialogue, and I mean, maybe that's because they had less time to talk, but Ahsoka in particular had a bit more time to actually emote and to handle more emotionally charged content. I thought that was great. I thought Hu Yang really knocked it out of the park. The beginning of the episode where the crew can't reach their rebel friends because of a down comm system, that's the most like Star Wars rebel plotline ever. Hu Yang and his little scrap though, just perfect. And I mean, some people are probably going to complain about that, but this man's been training Jedi for thousands of years. Of course he's got some moves, enough to not quite beat an assassin droid, but put up a pretty interesting fight. I just thought there was a really fun logic to that scene too, where he purposefully knocks out the wiring, then reflecting on the fact that he's really screwed up his progress there. Then of course, some gorgeous fleet shots. I mean, they just look so good. They've nailed making these probably fully digital ships look like the OG original trilogy models, and I'm so excited to actually see them in action. The closest we've gotten so far was the sequence with the Ghost in the X-Wing escort. Carson Teva was there for some reason. I gotta admit, given that we know they've at some points been working together, I'm a little surprised that Zeb wasn't included in this squadron. Like, if anyone is going to help save Sabine and Ahsoka, Zeb's probably going to want to get in on that mission. From that point on though, as it returned to CTOS, the whole vibe and tone of the episode was just very cinematic and very anxious, really. Anxious in part because there's obviously the ticking clock, which we do know is eventually going to go off, revealing the hyperspace coordinates, but the sense of not only upcoming combat, but upcoming darkness, I thought was really quite palpable. I will be doing dedicated videos to the lightsaber battles in today's episode, so I'm not going to go over them too much, other to say that I really enjoyed them. I thought there was a good sense, again, of brutality and almost desperation. Like, each character here truly sold the fact that this is everything for them right now. The bad guys are desperately trying to light the fuse, the good guys are trying to put it out. I was not disappointed by Marok clearly being some sort of Night Sister magic that does mirror the Inquisitor from Tales of the Jedi. I suspect we'll get an explanation at some point, but there's also gotta be a reason why they're just not pumping these things out en masse, and I look forward to learning the sort of explanation there. It all just sort of adds to the strangeness that this episode felt. The very visually distinctive planet, the scene of Ahsoka looking on the henge with the Eye of Sion up ahead. Then, easily my favorite fight of the episode, Ahsoka versus Baylan. I tweeted this out, follow me on Twitter if you're not already. Baylan has got to be one of the coolest Star Wars villains not named Palpatine or Vader. He's just got so much power, and he's clearly based off an ancient medieval knight, not only in his armor, but also, as we saw today, in his lightsaber combat, which is full of big big, sweeping, powerful strokes that Ahsoka can hardly deal with him sort of fluidly turning offense into defense while still being relatively mobile. He's just such a cool duelist and so imposing. My favorite move he did was definitely that turnaround backhand slash after throwing the rock. It's just so extra, but really cool visually. That duel was, of course, mixed in with the final stages of the Shin Sabine duel. And yeah, for those who don't want the Force fully democratized with anyone able to become a Jedi, you probably like this. And I think it does sort of follow my early analysis, which is Ahsoka's not training Sabine fully to be a Jedi. Rather, she's using her Jedi techniques to train Sabine to be something greater overall. The first episode was really about her learning not to try to become something she's not, i.e. a full Jedi, with her re-embracing her Mandalorian past as we see her shooting her wrist rockets to, temporarily at least, defeat Shin. Anyway, I love the end of the battle where you can hear the lightsaber cracking under Baylan's massive strikes, and we get the shocking moment where Sabine can't do it. She can't let go of Ezra. I didn't expect this, I gotta say. I really didn't, at least not at the beginning of the episode. When she showed up, it kind of clicked to me. But we got some pretty interesting reveals about her character, including the fact that her family, since Star Wars Rebels, has died, presumably in the Empire's actions against Mandalore. Kinda sad, and helps show why she's so interested in finding Ezra. I also thought, based on Sabine's past actions, it was a pretty true telling of what her character would do. Visually, there were so many cool moments in the last little bit of the episode. The Eye of Sion rising through the clouds, the New Republic ships being disabled by hyperspace. I just overall was really impressed by what they did this episode. Clearly, it got a lot of budget, and I think next week is going to be very interesting. This was definitely one of those experiences where I feel like I'm constantly checking my clock to see how long is left because I don't want the episode to end. I believe next week's is rumored to be a bit longer. I think it'll probably be a bit of a detour from what we've seen here, like probably, I mean, obviously based on how it ended, a look through its past or alternate places in the universe, but I could be wrong. I do think at some point Hera is going to need to go back to the New Republic and be like, hey, you messed up. One final thing I'm thinking, just because I'm sort of watching this episode through as I'm talking, I love just how powerful that hyperspace jump was. There was like residual evidence, like space was tore open, and I'm not a huge fan of Jason Syndulla. It's partially the green hair, but I really liked his version of I've got a bad feeling about this. Either way, this was damn near a 10 out of 10 for me. Excellent episode. Easily my favorite of the series so far. My favorite Star Wars episode in a very long time. At least this kind of Star Wars. Andor is different. This was fully space opera. Just felt like an extension of the movies. Can't wait to watch it again.